Just waiting for the room to fill up a little bit. This fine Monday.
Got to pump it up.
You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up.
See what.
Some really nice avatars in this audience.
Let's give it a couple more minutes. Start at 3:05. How you guys doing today?
Great, man. Doing great. Mondays are always great.
Only another 2,400 Mondays till I retire.
I gotta take after you, man. I'm going with you then. I'm going with you on that.
Well, it's in their 50 years yet.
That's fine. You know what? That or when the metaverse launches. Whatever comes first.
One of the two. Like, I sat and worked out at work today, and I actually made myself depressed for like 3 hours.
Should we get into it?
How you?
All right, let's do it.
All right,
Welcome back to the Stable Table, everyone. This is the last episode of season 1 before Butters returns next week. So really excited for that, to kind of revamp a couple of these segments for the program, and looking for some feedback. I know the Stable Table has been a big hitter in the community so far, so I've had a great time putting this together and can't wait for more. And thank you guys for jumping in these last few weeks in his absence.
It is our privilege and honor.
Let's do it. So, Stable Table slides, as usual. Got this little picture that was tweeted to the Silks account a few days ago. What do you guys think about that?
Oh, I like the look of that. It's very, very intriguing. I'll tell you that much, man.
I know there are a lot of people on Twitter trying to figure out what's going on. It's cool. There's some things in the background. Got the avatar in the front, looking out over the desert. I mean, I'm not sure. What could it be?
I mean, I'm terrible at these things, but there has to be some sort of meaning.
I hope so. I know so. We just want to remind everyone, as usual, to please purchase a cold storage wallet if you haven't already. We're aware of continuous, phishing attacks going around in other Discord servers, and unfortunately, we've had a few users get caught up in some stuff outside of our server. So we just want to remind everyone to please protect your assets as best as possible. If you don't have access to necessarily purchase a cold store wallet right away, feel free to put your Silks in a separate wallet, a separate MetaMask account, and that you're not going to jeopardize in any way by connecting it to whatever site, because we've seen a lot of new contract exploits in the last couple of weeks. Somebody actually brought to my attention recently something about an offer exploit on OpenSea, where people are offering it looks like a fake offer at like close to, I think, like 2,000 USD or something like that. But when you accept the offer, it actually gives full access to the auditor for the to go into your account and move assets from your wallet. So any suspicious offers, that you may see on any of your NFTs in the next coming days that maybe look a little bit too outlandish, or you haven't spoken to anybody directly, just be really cautious, just because there's a known exploit going around over the last few days. Haven't seen any on my
no matter what. Yeah, no matter what, though, double check everything. Even with the wallet, you never know. It's always good to be extra secure.
Yup. We had the Belmont, the Pick'em this weekend. It was really fun. We had a lot of people that had like 2 or 3 or 4 answers correct. But we only had one that got the top 3 correct. He had a 4th answer correct a little bit later, but that Nest, the number 2 horse, I think threw a lot of people off. When we were looking through the responses, there were only I think 30 out of the close to 300 that had Nest in the number 2 slot, which significantly cut down our list when we were trying to assess. So the sport of kings, there's always underdogs, there's always wild things that happen, and so the Nest horse, I think it was the number 3, number 2 came out of nowhere, and I think that's the one that got a lot of people. So we love doing these pick'ems, and being able to give away an avatar is awesome, and we look forward to doing more stuff like it for the Breeders' Cup coming up. Upcoming community events. So last night we did yesterday we had our first edition of trivia, and it was awesome. We had some amazing feedback from a lot of different people. We had several tickets opened up after the fact, just people letting us know that they really liked the event and they like to see more of it. It was heavily Silks related, which was awesome. We had a lot of really fun white paper questions and Silks related info in there, but obviously you can't do that every time. So our plan is to do some more fun and unique trivia over time, and just more events. So one thing we're working on that we mentioned is a poker tournament. We had a lot of people tell us that they had a lot of fun participating in the Fat Cats poker tournament. So something we're working on for the community, and there'll be some fun incentives and some prizes from some people that are playing, etc. So really looking forward to that in the coming weeks. And then Dragon, I don't know if you want to give a little hint about your game night that you're planning, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, I'm shaking in my boots for it, man.
I cannot wait for the game night. Name to be determined, host to be determined, but there's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, it's going to be a proper game night, akin to things that you would watch when you were sick, going to school, and you had to have some chicken soup, and you got to watch TV for a little while, and you go to the Game Show Network, or when I grew up, you went to CBS and you'd watch Bob Barker and some other guys doing some stuff. Could have some fun. Could have a lot of fun with what we got potentially planned here sometime in the near future. That's all I'll say right now. More to come on that one.
I'm very excited. I think the trivia was a great precursor to some of the things that we can do with some bots and some really cool stuff. So looking forward to that in the next couple weeks. And then finally, Project Skyfalls. There's a cool little GIF in chat. I think the Lost Avatar has been talking a lot about this Project Skyfalls recently. I'm not too sure. So I just kind of wanted to see what you guys are seeing maybe from that Lost Avatar on Twitter, because I personally I'm not sure. Seems lost.
I don't know, man. I'm looking around for them. I keep seeing little things here and there, but I'm getting antsy.
Where's Waldo was a great touch.
Oh, seems lost to me.
So let's get into it. So on the radar for this week, not doing any projects because there really isn't a lot of stuff minting right now. We were going to talk about free mints for a little bit, but we kind of covered that on Silks with Friends last week. So I just kind of wanted to take this opportunity and talk about stablecoins a little bit, because it's something that I've been doing a lot of research into on my own time before we get into a little bit some more of the fun stuff towards the end of the episode. Just doing my due diligence on research in the Terra Luna fall and stablecoins in general, and just it's been really interesting to me, and so that's kind of something why I wanted to touch on it today, just because it's very hot button in our community, and I know the guys have been doing a lot of research into it as well. So real quick, I guess before we get into it, just for anybody that's not aware, a stable coin is it's a currency that's designed to be pegged to the value of either another cryptocurrency, fiat, or exchange traded commodity. I'm going to be using the term peg and depeg a lot today, because that refers to a stable coin being relatively tied to the US dollar or whatever stable currency it's attached to. In this case, we're going to be talking a lot about the US dollar as kind of a relative starting point. I think it's really interesting to discuss reasons why people invest in stablecoins to begin with, and just their volatility in terms of the market in the future, and kind of why something like this Terra Luna collapse occurred in the recent months. So the biggest examples of stablecoins that you guys have probably heard of, if you're unfamiliar, is Tether or USDC. These are the two coins that are, I guess, talked about by experts to be the most stable in terms of infrastructure on the back end of blockchain protocol. Binance has a stable coin, Coinbase. There's so many different tendencies that are tied down in these stable coins, but it's interesting to look at the way in which they're pegged to the US dollar and the reasons for which people are holding them. So we'll talk about Terra Luna in a second, but one of the reasons why people may be interested in holding some of their money in a stable coin could be a ton of different components or reasons. One, trust issues with whatever localized government you're currently living in. I know, in the crypto market in general, outside of the U.S. and global markets are emerging and more popular than ever. And so understanding ways in which people from outside of the U.S. Might have a little bit, whether it's less access to these financial institutions that are providing the same types of services, or less trust, or whatever it may be, being able to hold your coin in a relatively stable currency without audit, or without the idea of being audited or capitalized upon is very tempting for a lot of people. And scarcity, inflation, and the inverse yield curve that could point to a potential market crash are all reasons why people may be holding large positions in these stable coins. And so why are we talking about this? Why is this important? So a couple, one of these big coins that we're going to talk about, I guess I got to pull up the next slide, is Terra Luna. And so this blockchain protocol, this was a stable coin that was tied to the value of the US dollar. It was released about 4 years ago. And it's basically comprised of two different parts. So the first is Terra USD, which was the first part of their ecosystem, which was the stable coin itself. This coin was tied as close to the value of the US dollar as possible. So it could be a little bit above 1, it could be a little bit below 1, but it's never outside of the range of 0.99, 0.98, or above 1.01. It's designed to be tethered to the market. And on May 7th, so just about a month ago, and right after our mint, in the midst of our reveal, the Luna coin fell. The Terra USD, fell to the 0.98, which is the first indication of what we call a depegging, or a loss of value comparative to the US dollar. So this is the initial signs of something that could be considered to be wrong. And at the time, a lot of people didn't really understand what was going on in terms of the protocol on the back end. A lot of the technological pieces are just really advanced, a lot more advanced than my knowledge in terms of what's actually the protocol itself. But long story short, nobody was able to kind of put their finger on why this quote unquote depegging may have occurred. And so a lot of these contributors, developers, these are people that are working on dApps for Luna, third-party applications that support the trading, developing, buying, and selling of the currency. A lot of people that have a lot of outside stake into the platform, whether it's projects they're working on within the protocol, whether it's just an investment of coins that they own. And so people were starting to be really concerned. And so what happens traditionally when a panic occurs? It only increases a further panic. So people just immediately began selling and selling and selling, and in a matter of days, it was from that 0.98 on May 7th. I think by May 9th it was 0.15, and then the day after that it was like only a couple, 0.02 or 0.03.
What a crazy drop, man!
Virtually nothing. Yep. And so think about this, right? Like, this is my first question to you guys. I've been talking for a few minutes. What do you do, right? If you've got a large position tied to stablecoin for whatever reason, and you picked Luna, and we're not even talking about the reasons why people may have chosen this particular stablecoin prior. We're just talking about the aftermath. What do you do when you notice that your when it's beginning to dip? My first instinct is to sell. I mean, I don't know about you guys. If you guys want to jump in, like what are you doing if you have a large position and you see
Well,
this?
one of the things that I try to look at getting into this space is diversification and making a conscious effort that I'm not overexposed in one particular project. Anchor Protocol, Terra Luna, Shiba Inu, whatever Bitcoin, whatever the flavor of that week or that month happens to be, not to be overexposed. The other thing that I'm working on taking more advantage of are stop losses, putting them in and understanding that if a position that I have, what is my tolerance for the downside? Yes, all of us want the upside, but if there's a downside move, how are you positioning for that? And taking advantage of stop losses within your particular decks that you're using. So if something, one of the things that I try to look at is if I see a 20% loss or downward movement, that is a trigger that I have put in some instances that I will leave the project, because there are two schools of thought here. Either you were going to ride this thing down to zero, hoping that it'll come back around, or take a minimal loss opportunity. Because of the volatility in crypto, you have a chance to be able to get that right back within a matter of hours, quite frankly, because of how volatile this space is. But I think one of my two takeaways from the experience that I've had are, number one, diversification within the various products that I am interested in, and number two, taking advantage, while it's not the one that I necessarily want to see triggered, but stop losses are something that I have been more into exercising those positions within my Binance or Coinbase accounts.
See, that's really interesting. And so, so to be able to have the frame of mind to be able to make a thought like that is so advanced to where we're at in terms of the general knowledge of the public in terms of crypto. And like you're saying, like a lot of people lost a lot of money, but it comes back to not knowing their exit point, right? And we could talk about furthermore why this occurred, and that's kind of the purpose of this into the next slide, which is how this happened. And so we're in June. It's about a month. A month has gone past, about a month or so. And the Terra team, the Luna team, they developed a separate protocol, Terra 2.0, that was going to kind of merge Terra Classic, which was the original coin that got depegged, to a new protocol to allow people to still, fund their transactions and operate out of the network with their applications that they previously built. There's, a lot of financial institutions had technology, Web3 technology built out via the Luna network. So it's just how to mitigate the damage that occurred. What people didn't know is that the owner of this coin, the person that created this in 2018, 2017, his name is Do Kwon, and I followed this guy on Twitter for a long time before this. He self-proclaims himself as the stablecoin master, and people found it came out a few days ago from this tweet from Fatman Terra, which is this guy is literally just a developer that's been trying to figure out what happened, and they were able to put together that a few months using this protocol called DGenBox. Do Kwon, the creator, cashed out close to $2.7 billion in different transactions throughout the network and converted it into hard money, like fiat, right? And this is what people are believing to have crashed the peg. And a way to think, cause the peg, I guess. And a way to think about this is the owner, the creator of Bitcoin, Satoshi, they, he, she, whoever, we still don't know who it is. But that wallet, the owner of that wallet, has a very large amount of Bitcoin in there that is considered to be dormant, that controls a certain amount of supply of the market. And if one day that wallet were to be opened up and the creator or whoever Satoshi is, the wallet's accessed, opened up, and the money's the Bitcoins are moved, that would instantly crash the Bitcoin network. in terms of a large position being moved that creates stability within the market. And so at the time, people weren't aware that this is something that could have been an issue, because Do Kwon had spent all of his waking hours developing 2.0. The entire team had spent a lot of time, talking about how they, lost so much of their positions comparative to the community, and they've lost, even more because of their large positions that they held. But it was turned out that the creators, or the creator, cashed out to off-chain indexes, and the public ledger was not able to pick up on those. So, I mean, what do you guys think about this? This is crazy when I read the story.
That's snaky. That's snaky, man. I mean, I don't know. It's taking everyone's vision and kind of using that to create your own dream reality where nobody else comes out on top above water except for you,
Right.
And it's just a disregard for everybody involved in it.
And so we're obviously not we're not weary to the full, we're not subject to the full story, and we, as far as actual dates go,
of course.
In terms of when this was planned. But to me, and what I was just speaking about with the team before the stable table, like, it looks like this guy Do Kwon literally depegged his own stable coin, which when you make that statement after all this information, it's really quite humorous, because this guy spent 4 years building this platform. A lot of people had a lot of value invested to it, and I don't mean just value in terms of capital, I mean value in terms of resources. And to be that careless in terms of moving the position, a position of yours that's holding up the rest of the market, is just, it's like, wow, that's what I originally thought.
Yeah,
it does beg, when you look at an instance like this, and this is not a unique instance. Unfortunately, these instances do happen within this space, but it does lead itself to the importance of having regulation in this space to give more retail buyers the confidence to get in, that their money is not going to simply disappear because of a bad actor who decides to manipulate their project and rug the project and walk away with the funds. I say that, but at the same time, this is unique in regards to, if you are skilled enough to understand how to read the blockchain, you can find where the money, you can track the money. It's all there. It's all completely transparent for investigators to be able to determine where it goes. Now, global governments are trying to determine ways to regulate this space to provide that cover that the retail investor needs to have to feel comfortable getting into it. These stories, of course, while completely just disgusting and painful to watch because real people are being impacted by this, the comeuppance for someone who does it, I'm not fully clear on what that comeuppance will be until regulations are completely passed. But with that being said, the transparency that's available on the blockchain is one that I think will lend itself in a positive light to be able to identify these bad actors and bring them to quote unquote justice, versus the time it takes for schemes that tend to happen within the stock market and what have you, or within companies that may be private. It is more challenging to open up their books and see what's going on and how they may be funneling money from one other to another. It's a difficult conversation, a difficult topic, but one that needs to be discussed because we have to be careful. You have to make sure that we all are protecting ourselves, that we're doing as much investigating as we can and due diligence in a project. But at the same time, once this regulation does come to pass, in whatever form it comes in, I think my hope is that these bad actors, while they always will exist, they will be found, and their comeuppance will be swift and stern.
Yeah, I can say that the South Korean government is investigating Do Kwon. I'm not sure what kind of sanctions they will be able to provide, but the debate is whether or not he is personally liable for all these people's funds as being the head of the coin. I think as more comes out in terms of this these ghost transactions and him funneling money out. I think there's more evidence against him, but that's the silver lining, right? At the end of the day, the biggest lessons, like Dragon was just saying, Etherscan, familiarize yourself with how to follow transactions. I want to do a stable table in the future about, just getting people a little bit more familiar with how to read Etherscan and how to kind of follow transactions, because you can truly trace anything back to its original location in terms of its official mint date, or its I guess if we're talking about currency, its initial deposit date. It's just a matter of matching those wallets to individuals, and kind of that's where the blockchain provides more transparency. But in terms of what is actually happening, everything is very clear. So that's kind of why, a month later, this research is still able to come out, because as much as they try to, as much as people may try to hide transactions, there's always an indicator that can kind of come back to a wallet of yours, or something that people can kind of recognize or quantify. It's all public.
Yeah. One thing I will say, regardless of what happened, how it happened, what's going on with that, I think that, unfortunately it's kind of bass backwards, but it takes these kinds of incidents to create a whole other sense of urgency towards putting this protection in place and actually working to provide better solutions moving forward. And that's what creates that growth. So, as hurtful as it was and as impactful as it was, this is going to open people's eyes to really making sure that we are doing whatever we can to make this a more secure, platform.
I agree. Connor, Ryan, you guys have anything to add?
Yeah, I'm sure Connor does have something to add, but he's gave me a message saying he's playing up.
Oh, no problem.
Thought it was just hiding, Connor.
I'm away by it all, to be honest. It's just scummy at the end of the day. I don't know how I do it, to be fair. Just...
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. So
yeah, I've been so much. I've been throwing things in all over. I mean, like, why is he talking about?
I haven't heard you once.
Ryan just said. I just think it's quite interesting with this whole thing. Like, this con guy, I mean, he must have some information, obviously, that other people don't have, to have done what he did, because obviously he was in a good position. He was obviously earning money, he had a lot of money sat there. Something must have gone horribly wrong that none of us know about. And the thing is, with these sort of people, however stupid people might think it is of him cashing out and doing what he did, he's not going to have been stupid enough to, I don't think anyway, leave trails behind him about what he did and why he did it. I think there's always going to be, they're going to investigate him, but I like to use football terms because that's all I know in, but Man City, when they do things, I know Ben will like this as well, when they obviously clearly go against financial fair play, all they do is just spend loads of money on lawyers, get away with it. You now think this guy's sat there with billions of dollars sat there. First thing he's going to do is, in a market and where there's not many laws, there's always loopholes, and this guy will get away with it.
Yep.
I think
Who knows why? Who knows why the whole thing happened? We can only speculate on it. There might have been something that comes out that's completely not even his fault.
at the end of the day, I think it's just greed on his part.
Yeah, exactly. But
There's
Well,
so much.
he went about it in quite a way.
he did, yeah.
No, seriously, I think there's a lot. There's so much to this conversation. I think we can talk about this to death. Let's move on to a little bit of the more interesting NFT stuff. Let's talk about airdrops. I think it's really interesting. I'm hearing a lot of talk about airdrops and a lot of just general comments from the community about ways in which projects have been able to provide them value in the past. I just wanted to draw not comparisons, but information from a couple of other projects to see kind of what this value that's currently been driven to these holders of these projects are. I know Butters and I talked very briefly about airdrops in a past stable table. I went through some of the slides, and a lot of that information is really good. But since we've got a lot of new faces, new audience members, it's always good to just go over the stuff again. And so I want to just talk about some of these market trends and what some of these other projects have done in these last
love
few months.
airdrops. I love the idea of airdrops. Truly, I really do.
I'm sure
I keep
everybody.
seeing it in chat. I don't know why.
I don't know either, but
No idea why.
let's talk about them because everybody wants to talk about them. So let's talk about them. Exhibit A, Space Doodles. I'm sure everyone's familiar with Doodles. Doodles is one of the premier artistic PFP projects in the NFT space that emerged, within the last year. They are considered, like I said, to be one of the higher valued PFP projects, kind of behind Bored Ape and Mutant Ape, behind that whole ecosystem. So on March 1st, they released a free claim for holders per Doodle. And essentially what this was the ability, it came to you as an NFT, as a video. And so they took your Doodle, which is the I wouldn't say avatar, but the picture that you used to the NFT that you claimed your airdrop with, whatever Doodle that was then converted into a GIF of this whole thing moves. That pink picture at the top is just a screen cap. It moves. There's music. It's a 15-second clip. And these space doodles can be docked and undocked with these doodles. So think of this kind of as another way to sell your NFT. So a good way to kind of think about this is the doodles floor right now it's not on the slide, but it's currently sitting at about 8 or 9. It's about 9 ETH. So to buy a doodle NFT by itself, just the PFP, it's going to cost you 8 ETH. But in order to get it with its airdrop or with this kind of space doodle and this functionality that they're promising with a lot of this stuff, it's really cool. They've got a lot of unique 2D game stuff coming out with the whole ecosystem, which should be super cool for them. Obviously, I'm not a doodles holder. I wish I was, but they will have their own utility. But when you look at the value of it in terms of the collection, in order to get a doodle with this spaceship, you're paying almost 4 ETH more, 3.8 ETH more than if you were to buy it without the add-on or the kind of surplus drop that you got in addition to your NFT. What do you guys think about? I mean, it's just 3.8 extra ETH for it. I mean, it's
just a great way of adding extra utility and value to the existing collection. I might be reading the wrong thing here, but when I obviously had a quick look myself, it does say that there's future ability with these when you pair them as well. It just says among the stats will be your doodles piloting ability, mechanical knowledge, and even bladder management. Doodles will start at the rank of 1 and progress through future ventures. I mean, even that's just exciting on its own. I mean, what a way to add value to something that's already very valuable. It's just,
it makes it feel like it's a journey.
It
like
does,
a journey too.
And it creates a thing of I'm going to say the word again, diamond hands, isn't it? It creates some people thinking, I'm keeping this.
Something that's interesting about it, and it's a little bit different than the next one we're going to talk about, but it's a claim. And so as you guys can see on the picture, there's only 5,500 space doodles in existence right now. I can actually, let me look on OpenSea. I don't know the actual exact amount of doodles. See, 10,000. So it seems like, just over half have minted their space doodle. So when you look at, and we're going to get back to this in a little bit, but what is that? What is the value of a doodle with an unclaimed spaceship? You can claim that it's 13, right? As the 9 plus the extra 4, but you can set it to whatever. I mean, it's in your opinion, whatever you value the claim to be. There's still the ability for you to go in and mint your airdrop. So a lot of these doodles holders are sitting on their doodle. They're waiting for whatever reason. I could be a lot more familiar with the system, but they have a reason for not claiming it, whether they plan to resell it in the future. It's interesting to see the split between the people that claimed versus that didn't.
Well, maybe it has something to do also with people who genuinely are not sure because they don't keep up on tabs as well. They don't realize that something else came. And I know, that's
Could
just,
be.
from what, like I spoke to you about. I had it's nothing crazy, but I didn't realize that I could claim these Grandpa Ape tokens from this Grandpa Ape that I have. You know what I mean? It's interesting. I'd love to see that to understand what the percentages are.
It's there's so much potential. And let's get into the next one because it's the same type of
Hmm.
deal. This one's a little bit different. Azuki beans is the same type
They're
of.
so cute.
Yeah, they're so cute. This is a little bit of a. They were marketed as a companions for your Azukis. There's 20,000 of these, with 10,000 in the collection. Let me actually double check. So
It looked like if a
my
Smurf
numbers.
and a
Yep.
minion had a love child.
So you were able to claim 2 of these, and the floor on these at the when they originally launched, in recent times, they was up at 3 or 4 ETH per. Obviously, with recent market trends, the numbers are a little bit deflated. But looking at this, from a top-down view, if you own an Azuki, you were given 2 airdrops that you could then sell in the secondary market for 2 or 3 ETH. The trading volume on these act as a secondary unit of utility. I say that because it's interesting to look at the trading volume on these comparative to actual Azuki. There's so much traction on these, and it's really kind of representative of the community as a whole. Obviously, with these types of things, there has to be a desire from the community, and that's kind of where the value is created. Azuki as a platform as a whole has been, kind of up and down recently. There's been a lot of stuff that comes out. We can talk about that on another stable table, but the airdrop claim that the holders were given is holding up its value in terms of what the holders were actually able to get from it. I think these look really cool, and it's just kind of a companion that you can be able to use with your Azuki. It'll have future utility in their ecosystem, whatever that means.
I think this is another good point from their collection. It's interesting to look at it. Apparently, it increased the social media growth by 1,440 users a day for the first week or so, whatever it was. Now, however much that in the scheme of things for Azuki might not seem a lot, all it's doing is as you said earlier, providing value through smaller sales, because some people who are going to buy these through the secondary market can't afford an Azuki, but it makes them part of the project.
Exactly.
You think out of them 1,440 people a day, say 10 of them decide, I like the project, I'm going to buy an Azuki. That floor price is going to go up because more demand. It's pushing sales up, putting money back into the project. There's all of these things just from putting out something that's really totally free for. Obviously, it's not free. They've got to design it and make it, but if you know what I mean, it's not costing anybody outside of the team anything to do, and the value it's creating is huge. It's making this, another little avenue, isn't it?
Yep. It's just truly fast. I think the best way to kind of sum it up is the third and final project. I don't really call it a project, but ApeCoin. I know we talked a lot about ApeCoin in an early stable table, but just kind of redrawing back because it just fits in so well to what we're talking about. So for those of you guys that aren't aware of the Bored Ape or Mutant Ape ecosystem, ApeCoin was a token, a governance and utility token that was released on its own as part of as part of tradable exchanges a couple of months ago, and it's kind of the first indicator of a more vibrant and alive Yuga Labs ecosystem that can kind of contribute to what they're building in the future for their holders and just the Web3 community beyond. But so the way that they were able to initially distribute their allocated amount of tokens was fascinating. So if you're a Bored Ape holder, the first day that ApeCoin was announced, or that first day that you were able to kind of go in and claim, which was March 17th, if you own a Bored Ape just by itself, you are entitled to 10,094 Ape coins. And the first day that ApeCoin was traded on Binance, Coinbase, on these exchanges, it opened at about the first day it was trading at about $6.57 or so. So let's just round down to 6. If you had a Bored Ape and you logged in that first day and you claimed, that first day you're immediately eligible for 10,000 tokens that equate to roughly $60,000. If you owned a Mutant Ape by itself, you were eligible for 2,000 of those tokens. So that roughly equates to like $12,000. You can see further on that screenshot the breakdown. If you own a Bored Ape plus a kennel, or a Mutant Ape plus a kennel, which is their dog, their third airdrop that they did. But if you're a Bored Ape holder, if you have a Bored Ape and a kennel and a Mutant Ape, which is kind of the golden trio in that ecosystem, you're eligible for close to 14 or 15,000 tokens. And on that first day, trading at $6, you're waking up to $90,000 in ApeCoin that was just kind of given to you as part of the ecosystem for being a holder. Now, just a few days later, it was trading at above $10, and obviously we saw that at its peak it was at like 30 or 27. So if you're a holder of an ApeCoin and you cashed out at $27, or if you're a holder of a Bored Ape, that is $250,000 just for owning a Bored Ape. And we can talk about this as its claim, because I think we were just talking about this in our call before. What is the value of a Bored Ape that isn't sold, or that's not claimed, rather, right? We can talk about the value. When we look at silks, for example, rarity, rankings, right? If you're trading and you're moving up or down a couple hundred ranks, that's kind of what we measure the value of our avatars on currently, right? But for these, for Bored Ape holders or Mutant Ape holders, if you're trying to sell somebody a Bored Ape that has I'm not sure on the claiming statistics to this date, but if you're holding a Bored Ape that has unclaimed ApeCoin to it, the value of that Bored Ape is going to be significantly higher than one that has already been claimed. So you can immediately use that as kind of a negotiation of 4x or 5x the value of whatever you consider the Bored Ape to be. So
there's so much more value attached to it.
Yep. When you look at this, from top down, right? If you bought a Bored Ape for 0.08, if you bought a Bored Ape for 60 ETH when ETH was at 2K, you paid $120,000 for your ape originally in February or so, and 2.5-3 weeks later, you are given close to that same amount back to you in coin just for purchasing 2 weeks. So you already made your investment back, plus whatever value ApeCoin continues to grow up, continue to gain, on top of being able to sell your Bored Ape in the future. What do you guys think? It's just absolutely insane.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable how much is going around circulating with that.
Just the fact that most of them minted them for 0.08 is what makes it unbelievably big.
0.08 to 100 ETH NFT plus
Coin.
Yeah. So
however much. It's crazy.
Mind's blowing, to be honest.
I look at it from a standpoint of you're looking at these projects and the ecosystems that they're building. You have two things that are in play here. Number one, loyalty that is being rewarded. You have early adopters into the project that continue to hold on their assets in the project. And that loyalty was rewarded by the project's ecosystem. And now those early adopters have the ability to make decisions that can potentially have huge financial windfalls for them, or, as Ben was describing, continue to hold, not actually cash out, if you will, but continue to hold and continue to be loyal, and what the potential opportunity could be months, years from now, of the value of that particular asset that did not exercise in this particular instance, the airdrop. The second component, following the loyalty piece, is in a term that'll be funny that I even use nowadays, but FOMO, that anxiety of these projects. I mean, I know I personally sit here thinking to myself, my goodness, I wish that I had learned about NFTs, 20 months ago, so that way I may have had an opportunity to get into Bored Ape or get into Azuki Beans or whatever the project is that has been rewarding their holders, but also has a viable and growing ecosystem. I think those are the two things. Just because a project is offering the value, is the project in and of itself growing and viable? But when they are, goodness, I mean, we all want to have a time machine to go back and wish that we could have purchased one Bored Ape at 0.08 when it was minted originally. So I think those are the two things that really projects aspire to, is having a loyal base that gets then rewarded, but also a project that has that FOMO aspect to it, where people are, gosh, I need to get into this thing as quickly as possible so I don't miss out. And I think that's what you're seeing here with these three examples that Ben has so eloquently described.
Thank you. That was very eloquent. That was very eloquent of you to say. Ryan, you got anything to add?
Not particularly, no.
Okay.
I think to be honest, it's as well. You've got to sort of bring this back to Silks as well. You're looking at adding value to a new project, etc. And I think we do see a lot of comments where it's saying, "Oh, we need to do more. We need to do this." I mean, I think everyone's got to remember how early we are in Silks as well. Value is coming, and we can already see it for how strong the community is at the moment. How many people have held since? I don't know the exact sites and numbers now, but how many people have held since we minted and haven't sold anything? And even the people that have, they're not exiting the project. They're finding ways to get themselves in better positions. By selling their rares and buying commons, etc. And I think the value's coming, and I think everybody knows that. So it's just interesting to see how other projects have done it, and how we're going to do it going forward.
It would be really exciting. I think that's an excellent statement you're making, that another project a year from now, when they're talking about, when they're having their versions of stable tables, and Silks is Exhibit D that comes up on that list as an example. Those are some of the aspirations that we have in the group. And I know that, the dozens of you who are joining us now, and that, the hundreds that will be listening into this recorded session later on, that these are the aspirations that we all have for Silks, that we found a project early enough that is going to just rocket, that we're all going to benefit from it because we are the early adopters into it.
It's a great point. Couldn't have said it better myself. Let's that takes us right to the 50-minute mark. I said we've got like 10 minutes. If anybody wants to come up and speak about stable coins or any of these projects that we talked about today, was honestly a lot of fun. I love talking about more crypto related stuff. Sometimes hard with the market we're in, but it is what it is. G Home, what is going on?
G Home.
Hey guys, great dinner table.
Thank you.
What's up? Really interested in the topic. One thing I'd add, since it's all kind of being discussed on this Luna debacle, I've read a couple of places. When markets panic, people will sell, and as selling increases, it snowballs. And what I would add to what Dragon had said is, when you ask the question, what would you do? You really need to be on the front end of that. I'm not really a fan of stop losses on cryptocurrency trades, because I feel like you might get stopped out when you don't want to be. It's certainly a good tactic for risk management But I look at this as a risk on asset, and I expect it to be volatile. But individuals need to understand what they're purchasing, and sometimes that's really hard. But
Yep.
that's an algorithmic stable coin. It's not a stable coin that's backed by some type of other, one for one asset like USDC. Tether's also backed. It's a little bit more risk in that we don't know what kind of debt they purchase, but that one's got a peg. And as soon as Luna is impacted by a market-wide sell-off and it's falling, there's no incentive for users to do the swap between Luna and the Terra USD. So, I think that exacerbated it. I read somewhere that they think about $350 million was used to kind of drive that even lower, kind of making that panic. And once people lose confidence in something like that, you're done. It's game over.
And that's what we were talking. We were talking like in our call before. We were talking like how Terra, like we didn't even talk about Terra 2.0 today, just because I don't want to get people confused. But they're essentially kind of creating what they consider to be a solution. And then they turned around and it was a quote unquote airdrop for them kind of mending the situation. But it goes back to like what you're saying. It's like, do people know exactly, like we talked about this during the show. It's like, what caused this? We're not really. I mean, you can do your research and try to find these small things, but at the end of the day, why would anybody be so willing to be going right back into something like 2.0? It's like exactly what you're saying. So that's just kind of what we were talking about.
I'll add, I think that's an excellent statement and commentary that you've just shared in regards to, I think the overall theme that you're bringing up is, what is the risk tolerance that you as an individual are prepared to have with the volatility here? And what are the mechanisms that you're going to be that you will put in place to protect that risk tolerance? And whatever that is, it's certainly a personal decision on how you want to do it. But you're absolutely right. I mean, this is such a volatile market that a 30%, 50% drop one day can be immediately corrected within hours and turn into a 5% increase. But whether or not you have the risk tolerance to do that is something that needs to be addressed. And I will add to this. I think one of the other issues that exacerbates these sell-offs, unfortunately, are people that are leveraging their position. And that's something that I would highly recommend to avoid unless you're really skilled at that. But I believe you have liquidation events that are occurring because prices are hitting those amounts that then trigger liquidation events because people are leveraged. So I think that's another area that's also being exacerbated when you have events such as this. I think Bitcoin, 22.5 might be one, or something like, or 22, I think might be a number that people I've been reading about is a number that people are looking out for as well. So those types of, I think that the point you've made is really well said, but it's really up to the individual to just understand when you're in this, while the up is great, you need to be prepared for the down too.
Yep. 100%.
I do love as well, Golm, that I remember you coming in and basically saying had no idea about ledgers and stuff, getting really confused about all of these things. And then I now see you in chat talking about investing and stuff like that, knowing what you're actually talking about. And it surprised me at the start because I was like, I thought he had no idea, but and it's just the same as you and the same as everyone on the computer. There's so many knowledgeable people in here. It's quite nice to see people chatting away and seeing what everyone's got to say about things.
Oh, the amount I've learned off of Golm in the last couple of days.
Literally. the Oracle.
You gotta play your cards close to your chest. That's all.
We thought you were stupid.
Whoa.
I play my cards so close I don't even see the cards, man.
It's like we got time for one more. Jasco, last one to close us off. How you doing?
Hey guys, what's up? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for the AMA. Great job as usual. My question is not directly in terms of Luna itself, but more towards the uncertainty and let's say, doubts that come along with it, with the crash and also the war, the current bearish market. Have you guys reconsidered any strategies taking these factors into account, or is everything according to plan regarding, probably there's a lot of people that want to join the project but are uncertain with the amount of new projects arising, and also, as I mentioned earlier, the current situation of the market. Have you guys thought of that, or that's the question.
Yeah, so everything is going according to plan in terms of the back end. I know Dan will have a lot of comments. He posted a recent article discussing his thoughts on the market on Medium.
Yep.
And I'm going to let him speak to more of the project related specifics, but I can say that no, there's no issues. It's just a matter of us all being in the same market together and kind of understanding the risks that come along with crypto. And, to be in this position, everybody in this call, I can hope that, everybody kind of understands the market that we are in. But in relation to Silks itself, no red flags.
Awesome.
I think it's interesting to add to that as well with it. We, I think a lot of people have said it. I had an interesting conversation today about it as well. These sort of market conditions allow other people who couldn't get into projects get in. You're looking at even the, I know we don't talk about it, but looking at floor price. I mean, if you'd have looked at 0.4 or whatever it happens to be now up a couple of, a month ago near mint, that would have excluded a lot of people not being able to get in. So it's good. We've got to try and look at the positives out of it. It's quite good in a way that it's, in some ways it's happening. Obviously it's not good in a lot of ways, but try and be positive about it. It's allowing a new breed of people in.
Yep. Couldn't have said it better.
When look at it, Jasco, it's such a great question you're asking, and one that is a very difficult question, quite frankly. I personally have, and I think some of us on the line are old enough to have gone through a number of market corrections in our investing career. And what I've learned is I am a very risk-on individual, because markets drop and they rise, and I just prepare for that. And there are times where I just simply don't look at my investments because there's really no need to. Because I'm of the age, not retiring yet. When I get closer to retirement, my risk assessment will change. At that point, I will not want to be in markets that are as volatile, or at least not be exposed so much of my portfolio in those types of markets, because I won't be able to weather those storms, since I won't have as many years available to me. What I am looking at, though, is when I see blood red in the market, I immediately go to see, do I have any additional disposable income to dollar cost average particular projects that I'm interested in? So, I will be very upfront. I have had an opportunity. I've been buying up some ETH recently, including this morning, because of what is to come in our project. So I am positioned later on to be able to make purchases of the various assets that we're going to have available to us for Silks at a lower cost. It's, whatever that happens to be from a fiat standpoint, it's costing less today to be able to acquire that. This is not financial advice, but it's a great question. It's certainly individual what your risk tolerance is, but these markets, I'm not scared of them, because I believe I have enough time still left on my hands before I retire to weather it. But if you don't, it may change your perception on that.
Yep.
Awesome, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This has been an awesome stable table. It takes us to pretty much the hour, so we're going to close it out. This has been a great season 1. Next week, Butters will be back in the fold. We're going to have our episode premiering on YouTube at this time. So we'll be in there in the chat just for a couple weeks until he's back on U.S. soil. But until then, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and see everybody soon.